Finally, there has been some criticism recently from conservatives, including some conservatives on Fox News, about the fact that First Lady-to-be Jill Biden goes by the title doctor. I wonder, what is the Biden's reaction to that, especially given the fact that so many people over the years, I think of Dr. Henry Kissinger, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, have gone by the title doctor, even though they're not medical doctors, and nobody seems to have made a fuss about that.
That's exactly right, Chris. It's a bit perplexing to me, and I'm sure to millions of Americans, that with thousands of people dying every day of COVID, millions out of work, that anyone would wake up in the morning and decide that the focus they need to have, the way they contribute to society that day, is to question whether or not Dr. Jill Biden, someone who's still teaching, who has a PhD in education, should be called a doctor or not. Of course she should, as anyone who works through that challenging process of getting a PhD. It's a really silly, sexist, and absurd conversation that's happening a bit in society, and I appreciate you asking me about it.
Now, some people have recently taken upon themselves to question that title of yours. Do you have any reaction to those people?
Yeah, that was such a surprise.
It caught me by surprise as well. I did not see that one coming.
No, nor did I. And, it was really the tone of it that I think that, he called me kiddo. And one of the things I'm most proud of is my doctorate. I mean, I worked so hard for it. And my, Joe came when I defended my thesis. And, but,
I got to hand her her doctorate on the stage, University of Delaware.
But
she had 2 master's degrees. She kept going to school all the time while teaching at night. And then what happens is I said, Jill, why don't you get a doctorate and make us some real money? She gets the doctorate and gets a $2,000 raise.
But look at all the people who came out in support of me. I mean, I am so grateful, and I was just overwhelmed by how gracious people were toward me.
Do you think it might be a little bit of a compliment that people were trying to think of something to criticize you about, and they were like, what do we got? I got it.
Okay, I'll take it that way.
What about?
And the race to the bottom continues with the Republicans, in that the right most recently decided that the hill it would die on was defending an op-ed written by Joseph Epstein in the Wall Street Journal. The article was entitled, "Is There a Doctor in the White House? Not If You Need an MD," which called on Dr. Jill Biden to drop the title of doctor because she's not a medical doctor. And not only is this a really dumb take, but made worse by the fact that Republicans and plenty of people on Fox News decided to defend it. Now, first and foremost, someone being able to use the title they've earned is not dependent on whether someone else might need an entirely different kind of doctor. The onus isn't on Dr. Biden to alter her title because some guy somewhere might get confused. That's not her problem, it's his. And of course, everyone knows that. But this isn't about any legitimate confusion about how to find a doctor. This is about the right looking for something, anything, to attack the incoming Democratic president and his wife about. And if you thought the fact that she's educated would be too ridiculous, then you really don't know Fox News.
Imagine your nightmare health emergency. You're on vacation with your family when suddenly you double over with shooting chest pains and lose consciousness. You wake up strapped in the back of an ambulance, racing to the emergency room. Paramedics hover over you, trying to keep you calm. You've had a massive coronary, they shout over the sirens, but we're going to take good care of you. You're about to see one of the best doctors in the country. In fact, Whoopi Goldberg just said this person should be the next Surgeon General. So you slump back onto the stretcher, deeply relieved. Maybe you're going to make it after all. Moments later, they wheel you into the hospital, and there she is, the famous doctor they just told you about. But something's wrong. She doesn't have a stethoscope. There's not a chart or an EKG machine in sight. Instead, she's turning on what appears to be an overhead projector. Jill, a nurse yells, "There's a patient here. What do we do?" "That's Dr. Biden to you," the woman replies icily, and then launches into a slideshow on equity and diversity in Delaware's community college system. Very soon, you begin to lose consciousness again. For the first time in your life, you have no fear of death. In fact, you welcome its sweet release. You don't just walk toward the light, you run. So contrary to what you may have read, Dr. Jill Biden is not a healer. She's not allowed to write prescriptions. She wouldn't know what to do with your appendix. Dr. Jill has an education degree from some school in Delaware, and you're supposed to find that highly impressive. She could be a Surgeon General.
Yes, because why wouldn't Dr. Joe Biden be in a hospital taking care of patients? And why wouldn't Hunter Biden be out in the wilderness hunting boar? And I have a friend named Lily, but what if I'm looking for a flower and I get confused between which one is the flower and which one is my friend? This is the logic of a 4-year-old. And yet that's how much these people are willing to debase themselves to attack someone for the crime of getting a degree. What's most ironic about this attack perpetuated by Epstein and defended by the Tucker Carlsons of the world is that Epstein literally worked at a university. His job was working with those seeking higher education degrees, only to reveal that his position is that those who actually succeed in earning their degree shouldn't be recognized for it. How's that some motivation for his students? And that hypocrisy wasn't lost on Northwestern University where he'd worked, which issued a statement saying, quote, "While we firmly support academic freedom and freedom of expression, we do not agree with Mr. Epstein's opinion and believe the designation of doctor is well deserved by anyone who has earned a PhD, an EDD, or an MD. Northwestern is firmly committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion and strongly disagrees with Mr. Epstein's misogynistic views." Northwestern's English department also released a statement saying, quote, "The department is aware that a former adjunct lecturer who has not taught here in nearly 20 years has published an opinion piece that casts unmerited aspersion on Dr. Joe Biden's rightful public claiming of her doctoral credentials and expertise. The department rejects this opinion as well as the diminishment of anyone's duly earned degrees in any field from any university." And look, I could go on and on about how this op-ed was objectively stupid and how Fox News defending the article was even worse, but this was never about the merits of any argument. It was simply about doing what Fox does best, which is perpetuate vile, bad faith, and baseless claims. It is about culture war wedge issues designed solely to drive people apart. It's about finding controversy where there's none, while ignoring issues that are legitimate causes for concern, like, oh, I don't know, calling for martial law and undermining the results of a free and fair election. But hey, why focus on that when you can focus on attacking a woman for getting a degree? If you needed any proof of this bad faith when it comes to character, just consider the fact that Republicans attacked Obama relentlessly, even though he's a once-married, church-going Christian with zero scandals, while absolving Trump on a daily basis, despite a slew of affairs, despite using campaign funds to pay for hush money payouts, and pretending to know what's in the Bible when he didn't. It is rank partisan hackery in its most obvious form. So remember that the next time that Fox and Republicans debut their newest attack against someone for achieving something, because it's not about those achievements, it's about compensating for their own insecurities. And it doesn't take a doctor to figure that out, regardless of what field she's a doctor in. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.